So class, on week 15, page number 5, your first two questions ask you to describe in words the relationship that you see between the diameter and the circumference on the graph on page 4 and on the numbers on page 3. They also want you to write an equation on problem number 3 to describe that relationship. It says, remember that x represents the length of the diameter and y represents the length of the circumference. So they said x is length of diameter of an object, and they said y is length of the circumference. So what we end up having is, we said, well, y, which is your circumference, divided by your diameter, always equaled something. It always equaled 3.14. That's the type of relationship that we're looking at on problem number 3. For number 4, it says, use your equation to calculate the circumference of a plate if its radius is 4. Now, remember, radius is going to be half of your diameter. So you'll only need to plug those numbers in to try to find that missing value. And then number 5 says, use your equation to calculate the diameter of the top of a can if its circumference is 32. So you'll need to come up with those equations, hit pause, and then hit play when you're ready to see what those equations are so you can solve them. So for problem number 4, it says use your equation to calculate the circumference of a plate with a radius of 14. We said its circumference over diameter equals pi, 3.14. Well, in this case, they're saying the radius is 14, and the radius is half the size of the diameter. That means diameter is 28. We have some circumference divided by 28 is going to equal 3.14. That means our circumference is going to be 3.14 times 28. Same thinking with problem number 5. You've got your y over x is equal to 3.14. It says on number 5, you want the diameter, the top of a can, that has a circumference of 32. Now you want to find the diameter. That equals 3.14. So multiply by x and divide by 3.14, and you have 32 divided by 3.14 is going to be equal to x. So you need to divide this out to find out what x is. Likewise, up here, you need to multiply to find out what y is. So class, right here on week 15, page number 6, it's talking about a little bit of history. In the history of mankind, we have constantly had to come back to what our best guess as far as what pi is. You saw in class we came up with a couple of different problems, and we came close to 3.14, but we were not consistent. So in each of these problems, numbers 1 through 6, they want you to divide out what each of those countries had come up with for pi. So for example, problem number 1, the Egyptians said that it's 256 divided by 81. So you need to divide that out to see how close they came up with the correct answer. Well, we see that 81 goes into 256 about 3 times, and when you multiply that out, you get 243. You do your subtraction, bring down your decimal, and I see 81 goes into 130 one time, we do our subtraction. We have 9. That should be 0. So 12 minus 8 is 4. Let's bring down another 0. We have 490. And 81 goes into 490 6 times. You have a 6. 8 times 6 is 48. And we have a remainder of 4. So they were at 3.16, which is really close to our 3.14. Go ahead and continue that process for numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for the Greeks, Hindu, Roman, Chinese, and Babylonian. Okay, at this point, you can go ahead and pause the video if you're still working on week 15, page number 6. We're going to work on week 15, page number 7. On page number 7, they're talking about the Earth's orbit. And it says that the Earth orbits around the Sun with a radius of 93 million miles. 93 million miles. It says, how far do we have to travel in an orbit around the Sun? In other words, find the circumference of our orbit. Because remember, circumference is the perimeter of a circle, and our orbit is in a circle. Well, in order to figure that out, we base off of our equation earlier. We were saying that the circumference divided by the diameter is equal to pi. So if we want the circumference, it's going to be the diameter times pi. Well, in this case, the circumference is equal to diameter, which is twice the radius, times pi, which is 3.14. So go ahead and multiply all of that out so you can come up with the circumference. When you're finished, you can work on problem number 2 on page 7.